Health Organization World Malaria Report 2009-2010. Hello, and wherever you may be, you are watching the season's programs coming to you from Grts, and I am Leikumba Demba, your presenter. Coming up on the program, we talk to the director of the National Malaria Control Program in the Gambia to catch up with the work of the body in their malaria elimination efforts. We learn more about malaria from the focal person for malaria case management. Malaria is one of the most widespread diseases of our time, taking the lives of almost 1 million people a year, most of them in sub-Saharan Africa. It is a leading cause of death and disease in many developing countries where young children and pregnant women are the groups most affected. This is due to the fact that children have not yet developed partial immunity to the disease, and pregnant women's immunity decreases by pregnancy, especially during the first and second pregnancies. The disease is not only a major killer in Africa but a primary cause of poverty. It is the 5th cause of death from infectious diseases worldwide after respiratory infections, HIV and AIDS, diarrheal diseases and tuberculosis in low-income countries. It has been estimated to cost Africa more than $12 billion every year in lost GDP. Malaria traps people in poverty and undermines the development of some of the poorest countries in the world. Though the majority of the cases and deaths, 85% from malaria, are found in sub-Saharan Africa, malaria is also endemic in Asia and Latin America, a public health problem in more than 109 countries in the world, 45 of which are in Africa. According to the World Health Organization Malaria Report 2009 and the Global Malaria Action Plan, 3.3 billion people, half the world's population, live in areas at risk of malaria transmission in 109 countries and territories. 35 countries, 30 in sub-Saharan Africa and 5 in Asia, account for 98% of global malaria deaths. 89% of the malaria deaths worldwide occur in Africa. Malaria is the second leading cause of death from infectious diseases in Africa after HIV and AIDS. The World Health Organization has estimated that in 2010, there were 216 million documented cases of malaria. Around 655,000 people died from the disease, many of whom were children under the age of 5. The actual number of deaths may be significantly higher, as precise statistics are unavailable in many rural areas, and many cases are undocumented. Malaria is commonly associated with poverty and is also a major hindrance to economic development. Malaria claims a million lives each year, Africa accounting for 90% of that number. In the Gambia, malaria is an all-year-round disease, but more prevalent in the rainy season. How does malaria infection process begin?
And it's people or someone will know that he has malaria with the following symptoms. The commonest symptoms that usually appears if someone has an attack of malaria is fever, but there are other associated symptoms like headache, general body pain, general malaise, you feel weak, and joint pain. In children, they may have cough, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. But what is important here, all these symptoms are highlighted may appear to an individual, or some of them may not appear. Symptoms of malaria usually are non-specific. So it doesn't mean that when somebody has fever or has headache, automatically has malaria. So that is very important for the general public to know. Symptoms of malaria are non-specific, and it's important for the general public to know.
How is the environment we live in related to the rate of malaria? I mean, sometimes is it that cleaner environments result to less infection in malaria, and perhaps dirty or stagnated surroundings also leads to an increase in the number of malaria infection?
Malaria infection environment is very important. For malaria infection to occur, I think the general public needs to know that there are three cardinal things that are very essential: suitable temperature, or one week of weather. The third one is the host, and that is the human beings. So these are the three areas that are very important for malaria infection to occur. Now let's talk about the environment like you asked. Mosquitoes breed in stagnant water. Most of them, the breeding sites is, like I said, is stagnant water. But this stagnant water is clear, stagnant water. The mosquitoes that cause malaria infection do not lay or breed in dirty, stagnant water. So like we are now in the rainy season, there is a lot of water around us, and most of these are places where mosquitoes can breed because the water is clear and is inside. So the breeding site is clear, stagnant water, and you can find these stagnant waters in containers like empty canteens, empty plastic containers, old tires. Even in our environment, like if you have your house and you have a lot of flour around, so where water can stagnate and it is clear, mosquitoes can breed, can lay eggs, and those eggs can hatch into adult mosquitoes, and eventually they go into a house and bite us to have malaria.
Can you buttress a little bit on the other two?
Okay, the host, like I said, that is the human beings, because the mosquito that causes malaria bites us. They bite us because if they do not bite us, they will not be able to lay eggs. So they need blood from us in order to be able to lay eggs. So that is another second important thing. Without us, at least mosquitoes will not be able to have blood to lay eggs, because it's the blood from us or human beings that help them to be able to lay eggs. The third one is the humidity or the temperature. If there is a conducive temperature, the right temperature, this helps mosquitoes that gives malaria to be able to lay eggs. Like in a very hot temperature, in a very hot weather, this helps mosquitoes that gives us malaria to be able to, so for the eggs to mature in the gut and eventually lay eggs in those stagnant waters, and then they are hatched into larvae, develop into adult mosquitoes, and they go to the houses and bite us.
Now, naturally, I am tempted to think that I know what complicated malaria is, given the word complicated and uncomplicated. But in clinical terms, what is complicated malaria and uncomplicated malaria?
Like you said, the first type we call it uncomplicated malaria. And what it means in simple terms is simple malaria. And the characteristics of this simple malaria, it doesn't have any life-threatening signs or symptoms. So when I say life-threatening signs or symptoms, it's just like somebody develops a fever, somebody develops a headache, or somebody has weaknesses, somebody has joint pain, and you feel that you should go to the clinic for someone or for a doctor or health worker to check whether you have malaria. This is simple malaria or uncomplicated malaria. But when we say severe malaria, or what we say complicated malaria, is malaria that is life-threatening. If prompt action is not taken, it can lead to the death of an individual. So it is life-threatening, and it is always an emergency condition that some prompt action needs to be taken. When I say life-threatening, it is usually characterized by